going on, Jerome's? Happy Sunday. Someone else who's also happy is a bunch of Lions fans now. They got Jahmyr Gibbs in the building, and Gibbs is electric as a slasher, as a running back, and great out of the backfield receiving in that Ben Johnson offense. And he and David Montgomery, really nice 1-2 punch in that backfield, right? And Gibbs was a stud at Georgia Tech before spending some time at Alabama, and he really was that running back. It's like, hey, things are going bad. Let's just get Gibbs involved in the passing game. And he was a lot of fun to watch. Like, the Diet Alvin Kamara comps are certainly there. And Gibbs, when he was taken number 12 overall, I mean, there was some eyebrows raised because a lot of people saw the 2023 draft as a one running back draft where you had Bijan Robinson, and Gibbs was, a nice ancillary piece. Get him at the back end of the first round, probably second round, and you'll be good to go. So the Lions, remember, the Lions basically poo-pooed in the face of all analytics. They took all non-premium positions: running back, tight end, off-ball linebacker, and safety with the first 4 picks. They all worked out pretty good. Who knew, man? But Gibbs, after a slow start, remember, there was all this hype. They were like, we're going to use Jahmyr Gibbs the way that they've never used a running back before. Even though, he was used pretty traditionally. But either way, even though he broke late, he still had a pretty solid rookie season, just shy of 1,000 yards rushing, 10 touchdowns, as well as 52 catches for 316, stone cold, as well as a touchdown on 71 targets. And I think that he's going to be a problem in the division for many years to come. And, of course, the Vikings saw him up close and personal. He got drug tested after this game. Wore 15 carries for 80 yards, 2 touchdowns, and also had a fistful of catches as well. But, of course, this all comes back to, what about us? What about us and the Vikings? So, Kwesi with the Moneyball approach. Now, analytics say that you don't really invest in the running back position. You just grab a day 3 guy or a UDFA and then just plug and play and go from there, right? So that's the standard, like, Pro Football Focus analytics thinking. Although you gotta think too, like, Kwesi and his background. So he started with the San Francisco 49ers, and they have had a tradition of running backs. Notably, his mentor John Lynch trading for Christian McCaffrey and still continuing to pay him $16 million per year. And then also he was in Cleveland, where Nick Chubb was running things, and also got himself a premium contract. So it's not like that Kwesi hates the running backs. Even though the Vikings did jettison Dalvin Cook, I think that was more about production and more about age and the contract. But could Kwesi invest in the running back position? So this is from Alec Lewis, The Athletic. Apparently the Vikings were very much in on Jahmyr Gibbs. This is from Lewis. As it turns out, according to a league source familiar with the Vikings thinking in the lead up to last year's draft, the Vikings adored Gibbs. Had he fallen to Minnesota 23, he would have been a serious consideration. The team believed his speed, vision, and receiving ability would have aligned nicely with his high-powered offense, which would have been structured to lighten the load on a scrappy but unproven defense. The Lions snagged Gibbs at 12. Leaves us with a fascinating what if, but the pass. Hey, halting Gibbs will be the Vikings' problem for the foreseeable future. Yeah, so Vikings wanted him, but now that the Lions have him, he ain't crap. He ain't crap, man. But, like we said, he did go number 12 overall. And the Vikings, I mean, say Gibbs had been on the board with Addison at 23. That would have been fascinating, right? Because Jordan Addison certainly was no slouch. He was no Puka Nacua. But Addison had himself a solid rookie season as well. Also had 10 touchdowns. But, I mean, if the Vikings adored Gibbs, like that report says, and Addison was there, I mean, wide receiver 2 was still a very large need with the loss of Thielen, but running back was there as well. Even though the Vikings had re-signed Alexander Madison, and the future of Dalvin Cook was up in the air. So who really knows at this point? But what's interesting is that this could be a spot of CYA, cover your ass, because maybe that league source is part of the Vikings scouting department, and just like, hey, who we really liked, that player who was good. The player who's drafted ahead of us, but we would have taken him. That whole revisionist history thing. But also, I believe Lewis is from Alabama, so maybe he has connections with like the Crimson Tide, all that stuff, and they would have had some knowledge that, hey, who's been hanging around Tuscaloosa a lot? Vikings area scouts. Who knows, man? But this could give a little bit of glimpse into what Kwesi wants to do at running back, because even though we have a limited sample size, like Kwesi has made some moves at running back. So they drafted Ty Chandler in 2022 in the 5th round. Sort of got dinged up as a rookie. Didn't really get the time of day till the end of last year, but when he was out there, he looked good. They did re-sign C.J. Ham, yes, more of a fullback, but also they also re-signed Alexander Madison, and with Dalvin, I think that was more just about dollars and cents versus an aspersion on the running back position. And it's interesting that, hey, if the Vikings were indeed in on Jahmyr Gibbs in the draft, the thing about Gibbs the best is him out in space, him receiving, and then the Vikings in the 7th round last year taking Dwayne McBride, the stone cold antithesis of a receiving back. Because he caught like 2 passes at UAB because he just ran the ball all the time, man. All right, so it doesn't really give a glimpse into what Kwesi necessarily wants to do. He has drafted 2 running backs. That is noteworthy. He has given a veteran running back a second contract in Madison. That's also noteworthy. But I think that adding everything up, you look at the Vikings offense and the way that the running game struggled last year, I don't think you can blame it all on the offensive line. I think that there was just a lack of spark at the running back position. Also, take into account that they did trade for Cam Akers midseason, and Kwesi has been trying to improve the running back position precipitously. And then you look at free agents and running backs. Now, the Vikings, depending on what happens with Kirk and Danielle Hunter and possibly even extending JJ to free up some cap space, I mean, the Vikings could have some money to play with in free agency. Now, yes, they should throw lots of cash at that defensive line, maybe cornerback, maybe Antoine Winfield Jr., but could they also toss a couple of shekels on guys that are still young-ish, but it's the running back position. That's the thing. So I don't necessarily see Kwesi throwing big money at, say, Derrick Henry, who is 30, or Austin Eckler, who is 29, and also clearly had a fall-off year. Also, Cordell's 33? Damn. Where the hell does time go, man? All right, so, and also, I don't see it with like Gus Bus or Zeke or whatever, but could the Vikings throw a couple of shekels at Josh Jacobs? Absolutely. Maybe Tony Pollard, who's coming off of his franchise tag and was sort of whatever as RB1 for the Cowboys last year, sure. Saquon, even though he's also a little bit older, also has been dinged up the last couple of years, maybe. Or, I mean, do they throw a couple bucks at guys like Devin Singletary or Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Skol SU back together? Who knows at this point? But I feel it with Josh Jacobs, man, because if the Vikings were indeed in on Gibbs, his pass catching ability and his threat out of the backfield would be a plus. So a guy like Jacobs and Pollard could potentially fill that bill. And who knows what the running back money is going to be like? Because everyone and their mom is just going to be like, let's just draft a running back. Or since the Vikings reportedly had interest in a first-round running back, maybe the Vikings plow draft resources into that position. Now, there's no first-round running backs this year in all likelihood. Maybe not even round 2, but there will be some interesting names, rounds 3, 4, 5, and 6 coming on in. Where Bucky Irving, former Golden Gopher, Braylon Allen, a little bit more of a north-south guy, Blake Corum from Michigan, obviously is all about that business, as well as Ray Davis is a fascinating story. Plus Dylan Loeb. I feel like Dylan Loeb in the 4th round is like a fait accompli for the Vikings. He's going to come in and be that sort of gadgety, do-it-all running back. I would kind of love it, man. I kind of love it. But again, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a stud for a while. So maybe part of this is the Vikings like, hey, you know who we liked? That guy who's really good in our division, though. We have to play twice a year now. Who knows, man? But I think that maybe, and we're guilty of this too. Like maybe our estimation of Kwesi is like, oh, he's an analytics guy, so he must hate running backs. Maybe that's a little bit off. And maybe the Vikings do spend up in free agency, or they do expend high draft capital at the running back position, especially since the running game wasn't great last year. Anyways, your thoughts are thoughts. Reportedly, allegedly, the Vikings had was it serious consideration? What? Oh, they adored Jahmyr Gibbs, Detroit Lions running back, last year in the draft. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol. Production value.